Oh, yeah. And here we go. Hi there. Welcome, everybody, once again to Cast Iron Wednesday, which, of course, is a tradition that a number of these YouTube cooking channels, at least the smaller YouTube cooking channels, have been doing now for at least the past several years or so. We do a cast iron video every Wednesday, and really for no reason other than to have fun, give us a chance, an excuse to make some content, and otherwise, again, really to play with our cast iron because, yeah, we enjoy it. That's really the most important reason, I think. And I can only thank everybody who's been kind enough to show up here this week once again because. Again, this hobby is popular enough that I've been kind enough to see some regular names here on this channel each week. We've managed to be doing this now for almost 5 years somehow, and as such, there are a number of names I've gotten quite familiar with at this point. So I can only say thank you and hello to everybody. Hello to Rocket Caver and Flash 1499, and hello to RT Scott, and hello to Val's Black Cats Rule. You are also here in New York, and as you know, we are finally getting into the really hot time of year, which is, quite frankly, it's going to be a while yet before I complain about that. And RT Scott and Cast Iron with Honey Badger. Yes, hello, hello, nice to see you, Honey Badger. Where I unfortunately made a mistake with giving thanks, and that the package I received from JIR Finishes, I did attribute to your channel, and well, I do enjoy your channel, but as I said, it was an honest mistake. And hello as well to Greg Hart, and hello Kathleen Tripp and Fuzzfork8 and so many others here, where we are here really just to relax this evening and have some fun and have what I hope will be a nice, lively conversation. Largely for, as I mentioned in the description of this video, this is going to be just a nice discussion tonight for a couple of reasons. One of which is my car is in the shop tonight. So yeah, for the second time in a week, unfortunately, but for two different reasons. I had a wiring problem with my headlights about a week or so ago, and then just yesterday, my car just plain died. And it turns out this time I've got a problem with the alternator. Both of which are something that are probably quite familiar with all of you. But well, what can you do? So that means, though, that I wasn't able to do any food shopping today. I have plenty of food, yes, but it's not like I can go and get specialized ingredients here. So unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to do things like go out and get, oh, I don't know, like say special peppers from India or the like tonight. So as a result, well, here it is time once again for everybody to ask me anything. Here I am once again standing in front of my cast iron collection, and I'm encouraging everybody really to throw questions out to see what we all can do to answer them, and not just me, because I've never proclaimed myself to be a cast iron expert, in that I've given wrong answers before, and I'm more than happy to be corrected as well for when that does happen. The funny thing is, there was actually a little thing like that on one of the cast iron Facebook groups about a week or so ago, where interestingly enough, somebody posted a picture of a Wagner muffin pan. And this is one I had never seen before because I never did buy the book of Wagner and Griswold, either the first or second edition. So I do not have those books memorized. So somebody posted a Wagner muffin pan that again I had never seen before because the handle looks completely different. And so as a result, I was actually thinking, that might actually be a counterfeit. At which point somebody pointed out that, and it was an amazing piece too, when they pointed it out, that that particular handle on that particular muffin pan was shaped for you to put a lid lifter or a little lifting tool on it so that you could lift it out of the oven. As a result, you've got a muffin pan with a handle. And I thought, wow, that looks really great. So yeah, I was more than happy to be corrected about that. Except I did notice that one particular person who was actually kicked out of the cast iron cooking group almost 10 years ago for playing silly little political games with the moderators. He just had to come in and point out about, see, he's wrong again. Yeah, meaning me. "Oh my God, I got it wrong. It's the end of the world. How can I ever call myself an expert ever again?" Then again, like I said already, I don't call myself an expert. And so much for the Facebook politics, I guess. So hello, Val's Black Cats Rule, William in the house. And the hubby said goodnight, he's going to bed. Well, considering how warm it is, I can't say I blame him. He's probably gonna go to bed with the air conditioner, right? So, yes. Anyway, I've wasted everybody's time here at this point. So, as I said, we're here to have some fun talking about cast iron. And so, what's the fridge casserole? Fridge casserole? Oh, what's in the fridge casserole? Oh, I get it. I get it. Yeah, meaning that. Yeah, yes, exactly. Since I can't go out food shopping, that's pretty much what this would have turned out to be. Clean out the fridge night, which is not a bad thing, except I do have to admit that I have house guests at the moment, and my house guests have been doing a pretty good job cleaning out the fridge already. So, but nonetheless, we've been eating well. Okay. Anyone finding any good iron? Yeah, that's always a big question mark, Sieber. Um, so far, I mean, the flea markets in my area have been open for about a month or so. I have to say I've seen some interesting things, not some fantastic scores, not something that I really gotta get. But I mean, even the local flea market right near me here in Binghamton has. There's one vendor who's had a small pile of cast iron there for quite a while now, and interestingly, about a week or so ago, he included a Griswold in that particular pile of cast iron for sale. A cracked Griswold, that is a number 8 with a very prominent crack on it. So, I mean, he certainly admits it. He's not trying to hide it or anything, but that's pretty much about all I can see really say for rare cast iron. Mistakes happen, but a shout out is a shout out. Yes, exactly, Honey Badger, and thank you very much. Okay, alright, yeah, sound has a real buzz to it. Oh, is there a problem with okay, is there a problem with the sound then? I guess I would like to know. I mean, I did take everybody's advice, by the way, and I put the, mic directly underneath my chin, which I believe the last time you said that actually seemed to improve the sound problems. Alright, we picked up a BSR chef skillet for $6. Oh, now congratulations on that. Yeah, I would have to say the chef skillet is one that I'm kind of keeping my eye out for, only because, as much as I enjoy using my modern day black clock skillet as a chef skillet, I probably wouldn't mind getting a BSR chef skillet if I ever managed to find it at a good price. So yes. All right. Found an enameled oval roaster, 20 bucks, 7 to 9 quarts. Nice. Congratulations on that. Would you say well, yeah, would you say it's vintage or modern? Because, there are a lot of modern day, Chinese-made enamel cast iron, dishes out there, including some oval roasters that I've seen. Yeah, in fact, a lot of them you can get even these days at, TJ Maxx, for instance. Don't forget the thumbs up, and thank you so much. Alright, but okay, well, yeah, I mean, as I said, we are here, of course, again, to have some conversation, and I can see we've got about 26 people here in the chat already. But as I said, I'm open up to questions here, whatever you'd like to ask, something about my collection, something about your collection, any other comments here. Lots of cast iron goodies from eBay that is out of our buying power. Well, that is certainly true. I mean, I've said my piece about eBay quite a few times, and actually, that's something I think I should mention. I only just saw this one on TikTok a little earlier today, and I'm going to make a short little reply video to it. In that one member of our cast iron crowd here, who's got himself a real business going on in restoring cast iron. You probably know him, Cast Iron Chris, who has been really, really close to the Butter Pat crowd up until and including since the time they were bought out by Yeti. He posted an interesting little video in that he was actually given an old rusty butter pat skillet. Apparently, he was given to him by none other than the president of Butter Pat or something like that. But that's one that definitely needed restoring. Although it's amusing that Chris mentioned that, because Butter Pat is out of business, this is now a valuable collector's item. And he mentioned an original Butter Pat skillet selling on eBay for, what was it, $5,000, I think. And okay, I'm afraid I am going to have to make a little commentary about that. In that, he's probably not wrong. In that, now that the Butter Pat name is gone now that it's been acquired by Yeti, I would not really use eBay as a meter or measurement of how valuable any particular piece or line or name of cast iron is. So, yeah, I'm certainly not arguing or trying to get into any kind of a fight or anything like that. But it's something that I don't feel like. I feel like I just can't keep my big mouth shut about that one. Are you getting a chance to hunt for new cast iron? Things have been so crazy for about the past month or so at this point that I've barely had much of a chance to get out and do that. But we've always got this weekend coming up, and especially since, well, yeah, last weekend it rained, of course. This weekend, well, I certainly do hope to get out to my favorite flea market here in the Binghamton area. Also, I've got a long weekend coming up in about a week or so, and I'm actually thinking maybe of taking advantage of that and going out and doing some rummaging, possibly in the area of a little north of here in mid-state New York, because I do know that, in fact, I remember my very first antiquing expeditions were out in that area, along the area of Route 88. Those of you who know mid-state New York, then you probably know it's pretty good territory for antiquing. That's for sure. I'm looking some this summer for pieces for sale by the COVID cooks. Oh yes, people have been scoring modern cast iron left and right. Yeah, that is an interesting thing that does seem to have been happening. In that, when everybody was here in quarantine, everybody was shut in quarantine. It's like home cooking really became popular. And it was at that time that a lot of people did indeed invest in really good cookware and kitchen items, including a lot of modern day cast iron. And of course, now that yeah, it's been probably a couple of years or so since, well, no, the pandemic never really did end. We still have COVID, but people are getting out and about and coming back to their original habits of before the pandemic, which means a lot of people are getting rid of that fancy cookware that they acquired during the pandemic. That is certainly true. So yeah, indeed, you're probably a lot more likely to score something like, say, a butter pat or a field skillet or other kinds of modern lodge, for instance, when you are out and about. We also found an older lodge Dutch oven for $12. Nice. Hey, that sounds pretty good. All right, for people from the COVID books. Something about doctor visits wipe me out, and they don't even okay, and don't even have to be long or serious. Oh, Cynthia Wesley. Oh, I guess you were just at the doctor. Well, I do hope everything is doing okay. Cynthia received a nice Volrath number 9 skillet from Mudbrooker. Well, congratulations on that. That's quite a score there. Just the idea of you and the Hamburglar. And I was going to say something else about COVID. Oh yeah, one other thing. Interesting. One thing I do notice that has not come back since COVID, and that would be malls. In that COVID seems to have killed the malls, and even now that things are getting back to normal, so to speak, at least in some ways, the malls, unfortunately, seem to be still largely abandoned, unfortunately. And in fact, where all the kids now are just hanging out online. In that, I mean, it's like for decades, right up until the time of COVID, it's like if you were a teenager or the like, where did you go to hang out? You hung out at the mall. But now they're not doing that anymore. They're just simply hanging out on Snapchat. And I should know because now it's like again, in my new family here, there are a couple of kids. I don't know if I'll call them kids. I mean, after all, they are older teenagers who are indeed part of that crowd. They never go to the mall. They only just hang out on their phones 24/7. So, welcome to 2025, I guess. Also, buffet restaurants mostly disappeared. Well, there is that too. Yeah, unfortunately, like it or not, things have changed. We're never going to go back to the way it was, unfortunately. And yeah, and here in Binghamton, New York, I do see that because many famous local businesses have been closing one by one. So I've mentioned already here in Binghamton, the Speedy sandwich, which is, of course, the food treasure here of Binghamton. A number of famous restaurants here in the Binghamton area that sold Speedies have all pretty much shut down. Lupo's has gone online exclusively, and they're actually doing pretty good as simply as an ordering as a business for selling their Speedy sauce. You can probably find Lupo's at just about any Walmart around you, for instance. But there are a couple of others, as I found out, some of which I never had the chance to try. I never had a chance to try Sharky's, for instance, and unfortunately, they're gone. That's one example. So, all right, but anyway, any plans with the Cauldron this summer, the 4th? Um, I have not had much of a chance to do that, unfortunately. I mean, I was lucky enough to bring out the Cauldron last year, fortunately, for my X Day trip when the world failed to end again on July 5th. And that's going to be happening again in just a couple of weeks, by the way. Don't forget, the world is going to be ending again. And I am going to be out there waiting for the world to end again for only like the 26th time in a row. But barring that, unfortunately, as I said, just because things have been so crazy, well, I unfortunately have not been able to make plans for that. But I'm still doing what I can to cook. I still adhere to the 6 foot space in stores as more and more folks are eating homemade chili. Well, yeah, the social distancing thing, I certainly do appreciate that as well. Pizza Ranch is awesome. All right. I thank Golden Corral for increasing my bioimmunity by 60%. The nearest Golden Corral is unfortunately an hour from me up in Syracuse. So I haven't had a chance to go there in quite a long time. I'm planning to do a beef poiki this Sunday. Well, that definitely sounds like a plan. Considering that, this weekend I definitely do want to get some cooking done. And maybe as a change of pace, I might actually try doing Poiki. Yeah, you're actually giving me an idea, and thank you. Thank you very much for that. Has anyone gotten the Ace Hardware Lodge skillet? Has an old pickup on it. Looks cool. Oh, really? I mean, I do know it's a Lodge skillet, yes, with the Ace Hardware logo on it. But I'm curious what you mean by old pickup. Are you saying that the lifting handle is shaped a little different? Let me bring out just any one of my modern day Lodge skillets where, as Lodge has pretty much really got something of a generic handle now, in that the exact same handle is on almost every one of their pans. Same size, same shape, regardless of how big the pan itself is. But if you're saying that the Ace Hardware has a different shaped handle, that actually might make it a little bit interesting. I do believe we have an Ace Hardware around here. I should definitely take a look. But thank you very much for mentioning that. So yeah, I love that. It looks like the Christmas tree truck. Oh, Ford 1951 Ford pickup truck. Really? Huh. I work at Ace Hardware and just had to get that 100th anniversary skillet. Definitely post a picture of it, William Hurd. I think I'd like to see that as well. Pickup is a rural term for truck. Yes, well, yes, it is. All right. Anyway, yeah, as I said, um, you know, we are good. Good grief, we're already about 20 minutes in. Okay, do you have a buttermelt? Did you show it buttermelt? Is that what you're referring to? Rusty iron. You said buttermelt. Are you referring to a butter pat skillet since we had mentioned that a little earlier? Because was lucky enough to be gifted with a butter pat skillet. Yes, that is true. Boy, and I can't believe it's already been about 2 years already, and in fact, here it is. Yes, I do in fact have a about a number 5 size butter pat skillet, although this one does not have a size number on it. It mentions here Butter Pet Industries and it has a number 13, but that's not really a size number on it because as I said, this is more like the size of a number 5 skillet, although it's much deeper, and I do like that. So this was again one of those times when I did not ask for this, but I was in fact gifted this, and so that certainly does make it special, and it's one that I have no intention of getting rid of only because it also happens to have my name engraved on it. But the reason why is that they actually had a whole line of, cat yeah, I mean, they actually produced a small series of these skillets. This is not unique. They actually have, I don't know, probably several hundred or so that they made with this name on it. But nonetheless, yes, I do in fact have a butter pat. And if in fact Cast Iron Chris is to be believed, then yes, this is a valuable collector's item. I don't know about that. I just know that, as I said, I do like it. And I do have to say, I am getting behind on making my cornbread. All of this is starting to give an idea of what I'm going to be doing this weekend. So I'm actually thinking now I could always do a poiki on Sunday, and then from there I could probably definitely make some cornbread to go along with it. So all of that is starting to sound, yeah. See if Cast Iron Chris will give you $2,000 for it. Yes, yeah, I hear you. I hear you there, Honey Badger. And as I said, I am not bashing Cast Iron Chris. If anything, I might just be poking a little bit just to have some fun. That's all. I have an unmarked number 5 Wagner that is pretty deep. My other 5 is much shallower. Yeah, that is the thing though about this in that it is actually much more deep than a typical number 5 skillet. Let me head over to my 5s. I have one, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I have 9 number 5s here. And I will just pull one out at random. And this one happens to be a Century Series Birmingham Stove and Range. And when I compare this to the Butter Pat, again, the size is almost identical in that, as far as the diameter goes, again, these are almost identical here, which is interesting. However, the Butter Pat is definitely the butter pad is definitely deeper than the BSNR number 5, so it does have an advantage in that way. So that does actually make this unique in that respect. This number 5, on the other hand, is pretty typical for the Birmingham Stove and Range, as I said, Century Series. Uh, I am really getting more and more lost when it comes to the history of BSNR because now I'm starting to hear word on among the cast iron collectors community that supposedly they started producing this with the number 5 and the 5 and 1/8 inch mark on them, supposedly even before they shifted to automated production in 1966. And I'm curious where I'm starting to hear that because I was of the impression that they redesigned their entire line when they went with the automated production. So I'm still not sure yet. This is something else I'm going to have to get more information on about, I think. And a pop-up here has blocked some of the chat. Okay. I turned 65 last week. Hello, Medicare. Well, congratulations, Rocket Caver. Although, oh, well, I'm glad to hear that Medicare still starts at 65 because even though they haven't told us this since the time of Ronald Reagan, namely that the actual so-called official retirement age is actually 67, not 65. Thanks, Reagan. All right, and happy birthday, Rocket. And yes, exactly. Happy birthday and congratulations for that. Cast iron items are very interesting. There are so many to choose from. Yes, there are. I mean, yeah, granted, we've got a very long and very varied history of cast iron since cast iron pans have been made so cheaply for so long, we're talking centuries, even here in the United States. There's simply no way we can keep up with them all. And of course, in nowadays, especially since, as we've said enough times, cast iron has made something of a comeback, um, then yeah, you could again, the variety has only expanded as far as modern cast iron is concerned. And even though again the COVID cooks, as you say, seems to be getting rid of a lot of their modern day cast iron, I don't think we are seeing any sign yet that this is something of a bubble, that cast iron is suddenly going to lose the popularity that it has obtained or managed to acquire over the past decade or so. I like BSNR, but dating it sucks. Yeah, tell me about it. I mean, believe me, it's like really, I buy this pan flowers and I take it out on dates and everything like that. And so far, I haven't really gotten anywhere in that respect. I still don't have a social life. But yes, but especially as far as dating BSNR is concerned, because seems to be almost no agreement whatsoever on any aspect of BSNR's history and the history of their pans. And it only seems to be getting worse as time goes by. All of that is one reason why I am not going to be an adamant, going to be a nitpicker, I guess I could say, or a so-called cast iron expert who absolutely is certain that this, in fact, was made between 1950 and 1966, not between 1966 and 1992. I don't have the exact date when this was made, and all I can do, like so many others, is really just follow the crowd and try to keep up with the arguments that are going on. All I know is that I still enjoy collecting BSNR. I love cooking in BSNR, and certainly have no intention to stop doing that. I do my best to try to provide as accurate advice as possible, and that's really all I do. Keeps your head clear of other troubles. Heck, cast iron gatekeepers. Oh, yes. Yeah, I am not going to even get into that because we've seen far too much of that already. All right, let's get this back here. When did BS&R make the chef skillets? Well, this I am fairly certain of. The chef skillets are in fact post 1966, because what I do know, based on the research I have done, is that when BS&R upgraded their facility to modern, at least modern in the 1960s, automated production with the DISA, DISA, equipment that they installed at their community, it vastly, and I mean vastly, increased their output in that they were able to increase their production to any number of times more than they ever had been able to do so before. And what that meant is that because of that, they had a lot of quotas to fill. I mean, they were able to produce a whole lot more cast iron than they were before. And that really gave them the opportunity and the incentive to experiment, which is why with the Century Series, they produced cast iron pans that they had not produced before. And that includes the chef skillet. The chef skillet, the one that has the marking on it that says 10 chef. Um, all I know is that it is post 1966. I don't think they started producing that exactly in the year 1966. I would hazard a guess that that is one of the experiments that they made later on, largely, especially because the chef skillet has the other kind of handle that BS&R pans had. I know I've got here it is. I know I've got a square skillet out here, and ugh, those of us who know a little bit, at least, about the history of BS&R know that they did produce a certain number of pans that had a completely different type of handle on them. And the chef skillet was one of them, in fact. That was one thing that made it different. It was an actual skillet with a different handle. And of course, the shape of a chef skillet that is much more concave and, well, the type of thing that's much easier for doing things like, especially omelets and crepes and eggs and breakfasts and the like. And that's really one of the great reasons to use a chef's skillet. Yes. Um, But I would hazard a guess that the chef skillet could have come out in the 1970s, maybe as late as the 19 well, no, they were almost certainly producing it in the 1980s, yes, but I'm not sure if they started producing it in the 1980s. No made in USA? Well, that is true too. However, is there any book for 1 second. Is there any book for BSR? Jason Walker, the founder and manager of the what I think is the best BSNR Facebook group, he actually did produce his own book on the history of BSNR, a small press book that has long since unfortunately sold out. There has never been a professionally produced book about BSNR the way you have the book of Wagner and Griswold, unfortunately. So that is the only book that I know of about BSNR. But as far as No Made in USA goes, yeah, that BSNR chef skillet is one of my very faves. Mine does not have chef printed out on the back. Yes, I have seen quite a few of them that does not have any markings at all on it. But as far as no made in USA goes, one thing I do know, and I've learned from experience as well, is that BSNR did not put the made in USA mark on every single one of their pans after 1967. That is one of those things that they've been arguing about as well. But that is the case, and I do actually have pans that could definitely prove that, especially since the Made in USA marker is all really for marketing reasons, and that's it. That's one of the things I've actually done to correct a big mistake that I made when my most popular video, the one about identifying old cast iron pans, the one that's actually somehow managed to get more than 2 million views. That is the video where I gave incorrect information, and I stated that there was a law in 1960 that required manufacturers to put the country of origin on the pan. And that is absolutely not true. I made that mistake because I was looking at textiles, not cast iron. And unfortunately, that's a mistake that has stuck, and I've still been doing my best to try to correct that as well. I myself am not the only one to have done that. So I will take my share of the blame, and I have been doing what I can to correct that. But I'm not certainly going to say I'm the only one to be blamed for it. Voice recognition not working very well. Is there a book out there somewhere? Oh, voice recognition. Oh, okay. Do you have hearing difficulty? All right, I will say again, there is no published book about BSNR, about Birmingham Stove and Range. There has never been a professionally published book. No major publisher has published a book about Birmingham Stove and Range. A small press book about the history of Birmingham Stove and Range has been published. It was published in a limited edition, and it has long since sold out. And no, I do not have one, unfortunately. I never bought one myself either. All right. Rusty, come again. Okay, well, that's solid. Okay, am I missing something? My book on BSNR is an old man. I knew I was raised in Mobile, Alabama. That literally worked way back then. Well, there you go, Cynthia Wesley. You've got firsthand experience then to draw on, or at least secondhand experience. I have David Craig. I have two pieces of Wagner marked the same, but the thickness is so different. There is no way they're even close to the same age. That is true. Wagner is infamous in their history in that the quality of Wagner cast iron seemed to go down as time wore on. And it is true that they were maybe it was also when they went to automated production. Um, but yes, really, Wagner pans from like say the 1960s onward were most definitely thicker and heavier than the earlier Wagner pans, and some would say not as well made either. Um, and I would probably even agree with that, even though I know somewhere in my here I have at least one unmarked Wagner pen myself. The Easy Beasy guy is about as knowledgeable as BSR and anyone. Yeah, that's true too. And he is like me. He has also not been able to keep up with the very latest information either. But well, also like me, he doesn't really have to. He doesn't really have to worry about that. I mean, his videos are very knowledgeable and very good, and I certainly do recommend watching them. There's some information on there that still is not correct, as well as the information in my videos that is still not correct. We're still learning, and we're probably going to keep learning for the rest of our lives. Hmm. Um, okay, you're so I've learned more about cast iron at the library than anywhere else. Look up cast iron cookware. That fellow knows BSR. Yes, exactly. So the University of Alabama at Huntsville Library has a collection of catalogs and price lists from 1962 and 1963. Well, that's actually interesting. I wouldn't mind taking a look at those myself. What I'd really like to find, I think, would be a BSNR catalog from, say, around the year maybe 1950, as in not 1951 or 1952, but actually 1950, to see what exactly they were selling at that particular time. Yeah, because then I figured I would really be able to add some fuel to the fire about the arguments over the history of BSNR. Did you ever decide when Best Duty moved production from South Africa to China? Well, it's not that I decided it. The website for the company that currently produces Best Duty cast iron does mention it. I don't think it gives an exact year. It does look like for about the first 15 years of their existence. So we're talking till about the mid 1990s or so. 1980s to 1990s, Best Duty was indeed producing their own cast iron in South Africa. And the gentleman who was lucky enough to get one of those poikies, that's roughly when you can date that to 1980s to maybe the 1990s or so. And then, probably for cost cutting reasons, Best Duty was essentially the company was not bought out yet, but it was eventually acquired by another company, and it was the supplier, in fact, of Asian. Yeah, then after that time, they did in fact switch over to Asian-made cast iron, which they did actually provide under the Best Duty name, even though they were still an independent company. They were supplied with them for a few years until roughly around what was it like sometime after the year 2000, they were bought out completely and are now essentially part of another supplier. Since I'm standing up right here, right now, I can't look up the website directly, but if you look it up and if you look up Best Duty Cast Iron, you'll be able to find the company that currently owns the name of Best Duty and does indeed produce their cast iron. And yes, it is all made in China now. But yes, so for about 15 years, they were in fact producing made in Africa cast iron. And especially because poikis are still so popular, I would say if you want to talk about collector's items, I think genuine made in Africa or South Africa cast iron is probably something that you're going to consider to be an actual collector's item. That's one reason why the name of Falkirk has become something of synonymous as the Griswold of South African cast iron, because they were, in fact, the biggest maker of poikis, and they were entirely they were entirely made in South Africa up until at least the last few years of their existence, when they I think it's also because they were having financial problems and were trying to survive, but they relocated from South Africa to Zimbabwe. And unfortunately, they only lasted a few years there before completely going out of business. But yes, as far as I know, all Falkirk Poikis are in fact made in Africa, whether it's South Africa or Zimbabwe. So between Falkirk and the early best duty Poikies, the ones that actually have a made in South Africa logo mark on them. Those, I guess, you can consider to be collector's items. I stuck that number 12 way back in the back to stay in my lane and just enjoy her cooking. Hello, Rich Qualls, watching from Southern California. Is that your full name, by the way? Is your last name watching from Southern California? Hmm, I'm joking. Hello, Shadow Walker as well. Shadow Walker XM was away for a while. You're really busy with life, finally settling down. Yeah, exactly. That's where I am as well. That's why unfortunately, my video production is a lot more hectic than it has been. I'm still at that point as well, but I'm doing my best nonetheless to still keep cooking and still producing what videos I can. I do indeed intend to get back to something of a more calm and peaceful lifestyle, one where I will have more time to be able to produce videos. But again, I'm just doing my best. I tried to access the library and the page is broken. Oh, I see. The one with the BSNR catalogs. Honey Badger, my videos are Anchorman accurate. 60% of the time, I'm right 100% of the time. Yes. All right. So anyway, yes, Rocket Caver, as I said, it's not that I decided it. It's the best information I've been able to find for whatever it's worth. My BSNR number 12 is my favorite. Oh, that reminds me actually. Stumpy is still in the live bath at this point, and I can't believe it's already been about a month or more. So I definitely need to take him out of his bath and really get down to reseasoning him. That sounds like a project that should be happening pretty soon. I have managed to put a couple of other pieces in there, so I'm definitely going to have to empty out the lye tank again. Hey, Rick, I'm going to stay in my lane. Okay, move this over a little bit. So, my best duty Poiki is in fact Chinese made, and I acquired this from Amazon. And I acquired it in 2012, and I largely got it for because I wanted one. I mean, yeah, it's like I posted that video about a month or so ago of those pans that I paid over $100 for each, and that Poiki was one of them. And it's really when because I was struck with a burning desire to have one. But fortunately, because of Amazon and their free shipping deal, that's largely the reason why I was able to get it. But I have not regretted it ever since. Cynthia gave me 2 lessons on BSNR skillets. It is nice to have first-hand models right in front of you for reference. And I've been doing my best to do that as well with my BSNR collection. I still have a ways to go to get a complete set of BSNR anything, although one of these days I might manage it. At this point, as far as size numbers in BSNR go, let me see. I have the 3S. I have a 3. I do not have a BSNR number 4 yet. I have a number of number 5s. I have one number 6. I have a number 7. Although I'm thinking I should really the next time I see a number 7 Century, I might pick it up just for completion. I have a number 8. I do not have a number 9 BSNR. I've not been lucky enough to find one of those yet. I do have a number 10. BSNR never made a number 11. I had a BSNR Century number 12, and then I ended up selling it because I never used it. I think I mentioned this before. Yeah, I was actually able to acquire a number 12 BSNR, and then it just sat around. I never had a chance to use it. Why was I never using my BSNR number 12? Because of good old Stumpy, my number 14, which, as you know, has gotten a lot of use, and that is definitely why I need to get old Stumpy out of the lye tank so that I can continue using him. What was the name of the South African pot's name again, so I can write it down? Honey badger. It's spelled like pudgy. Let me type it up in the chat for you. In fact, it is spelled Potjie. And at first, I was actually pronouncing it pudgy, but I have long since been corrected by several people who actually live in South Africa. I don't know their names. I mean, I never corresponded regularly with them, but I got enough comments that yes, in fact, it is pronounced Poiki, Poiki, or Poiki, even though it is spelled like I just spelled it out in the chat. I think it has more to do with an accent than anything else. Have you tried using the cat litter pail as a lye tank yet? Uh, Not yet, largely because I do actually have a Home Depot bucket. Funny thing is, I just took out the trash this morning. I did actually throw out one more of those kitty litter pails. Yeah, that I don't know. I don't know if I should actually start not so much collecting, but keeping those kitty litter buckets because yeah, I do recognize they're useful. But what use would I have for a set of like 10 or 20 kitty litter buckets? So I don't have an answer for that yet. The name of the South African company that made them. Oh, that was Falkirk. Let me type that in. Falkirk. Falkirk was probably, again, the biggest maker of South African cast iron. And actually, if you do a Google search for that name, you will find examples of it. They were apparently around for like 50 or 60 years or so until, as I mentioned, they moved from South Africa to Zimbabwe, and then only a few years later, they went out of business. I believe it was in 2010 or 2012, in fact, they went out of business. They managed to last that long, but unfortunately, yes, they are gone. So all Falkirk cast iron poikies are, in fact, now they are collector's items. Not just because it's out of business, but there is some, yeah, they do have something that people want, namely, again, locally made or actual genuine made in South Africa. Part of that, of course, has to do with the stigma against made in China cast iron, some of which is justified. I mean, I've said this many times before that there are some rumors about Chinese cast iron that are frankly worthless. Namely, that Chinese cast iron is safe for cooking. I have a number of made in China pans myself. There's nothing dangerous about that, and um, furthermore, about the main reason people have against Chinese cast iron is more political than anything else. And unfortunately, especially within the last few years, anti-China sentiment has only been growing. So, but that has to do with politics, which again, that is some politics that I'm not going to get into this time. HB, the best duty poikies that were made in South Africa will say made in South Africa on them. Yes, that is true, Rocket Caver. We have seen some photos of them. You could buy, sell, trade kitty litter pails. Yeah, I can only imagine, especially with the way prices are going up. Maybe I could actually do like a standard or something. I'll trade you 5 kitty litter buckets for that cast iron skillet. I have a number 3 Taiwan that I love cooking in, works great. I know it's not China, but just saying, yeah, oh, I know exactly which one you're talking about. You can find those particular ones everywhere. Those little shallow and often roughly made in Taiwan skillets that look similar to an unmarked Wagner, if not exactly the same. I had a couple of those, and in fact, one of them I actually restored for my dad. I guess it's kind of a little bit of a story because I realized where that particular pan came from. Okay, maybe 20, maybe even 30 years ago, for my grandmother, I got her a cheese platter for Christmas. You know, the cheese platter that everybody gives for Christmas, you get for Aunt Gertrude because you have no idea what to get her. So you get her a cheese platter. And that particular cheese platter, and besides all of the little cheese samples, it actually had a small cast iron skillet, a made in Taiwan cast iron skillet. And so I gave it to her and then forgot about it. And then maybe a couple of decades later, after I got into my cast iron obsession, my dad gave me 2 pans he had gotten from his mom, my grandmother, both of which were incredibly crusted over. I mean, oh my god. Well, you've seen some of those really, really crusted, thick encrusted cast iron pans, the ones that if you, uh, after they're restored by either electrolysis or the lye tank, they just don't look the same at all. He gave me 2 of those. One of them was, in fact, just that, a little made in Taiwan cast iron number 3. And it took me a while to realize that was actually the very same one that I had given her with that cheese platter. But she'd actually used it. Not only did she use it, as I said, in only a couple of decades or so, she got it so incredibly crusted up that I didn't even know what it was until I restored it. I ended up not keeping that one because even though it did come from my grandmother, I really didn't have enough sentimental value on it. On the other hand, I've shown this one a couple of times. The other pan that was given to me to restore that was in the same condition is this one that I have shown before, the Diamond 8 skillet, which also really proud to have been able to restore and put into good condition. This one I am not getting rid of. This one I definitely have sentimental value for. Although I actually tried to give this to my brother because, well, everybody needs a cast iron pan, and I thought it would be nice for him to have a cast iron pan that belonged to our grandmother. He never took it. He just never accepted it. So it's part of my collection. All right, let's get this one back again. But yeah, I guess that goes down to, as I said, those made in Taiwan pans are very popular and you can find them anywhere. In fact, I do believe there's one on sale right now at that flea market in Binghamton that I mentioned that has a small pile of cast iron. I'm gonna look for an all glass lid for one set. Yes, that's true. Yeah, this is something I've only recently started doing, and I have not been able to find one yet. I've finally pretty much decided that I want a couple of glass lids for my cast iron, largely because as nice as these lids are, I guess here's an excuse again to pull out. Uh, this wonderful Lodge rope handle lid that I was lucky enough to acquire just last year at the National Cornbread Festival. Um, really, cooking with so many dishes, unfortunately, cooking with a cast iron lid is awkward because not only can you not see it, as you know, these things tend to rust. Unfortunately, there we go. Now I've got some light. So yeah, that is something of a drawback, I will say, to cooking with a lid, a cast iron lid. And even though I'm proud to own several lids now, and I still try to get as much use of them as I can, I find having a lid that won't rust is indeed very useful. I find it is useful, yes. And so I've only just recently started looking for glass lids. And so far, I have not yet scored any one that fits my cast iron yet. Largely because, once again, I'm a geek. Yeah, I mean, you can go to Goodwill or Salvation Army or indeed flea markets and get yourself a glass lid with no problem at all. The thing is that first of all, I find I don't want one that has a metal frame and a metal handle and the rest of it is glass. I would like an all glass lid. And so far, the ones that I've seen, and yeah, they are all over the place. They're usually the ones made for like crock pots and the like. So far, none of them have fit my cast iron. I have one sitting on my counter that I need to get rid of now because it doesn't fit anything. Actually, let me bring it out. I should probably check that and see if in fact it does fit. This is a typical glass lid. I paid $2 for it at the flea market. It does not have any kind of a marking manufacturer's mark on it at all. Oh, wait a second, I'm wrong. Um, it's Pyrex. Okay, Pyrex. And it looks like PB810 or something like that. I'm not a Pyrex expert. It could very well just be something new and cheap. You know, the new Pyrex that where they changed their formula, maybe. I really only got it just so that I could hopefully it would fit on one of my pans. I was hoping that it would fit on my BSNR Lady Bess because I do need a lid for this. I do. I mean, this I really use more than anything else for melting butter and making little sauces and the like. And I was hoping to get one that would fit, and it doesn't fit. It does not fit at all, unfortunately. However, one thing I have not done yet is compared it to a typical number three. Here is a BSNR Red Mountain number three, and it is too small. I mean, it fits way deep inside. Way deep inside. This does not fit a number three BSNR. One last possibility. Let's dig out a Lodge number three. I know I've got a Lodge number three here somewhere. Here it is. Which Lodge, as you know, is a very slightly smaller. This is the made in South Pittsburgh one that I picked up in, well, South Pittsburgh. And as for this, hey, yeah, no, this is not an exact fit either. This is still does not fit quite right. I mean, it fits okay, but it is not a tight, airtight fit. So no, this is still unfortunately does not fit any of my cast iron, which means yeah, I am gonna have to get rid of this. Maybe take it back to Goodwill and redonate it or something like that. But hopefully, it's something to look out for. And maybe if I'm lucky, sometime soon I'll be able to get myself a glass lid for use with my cast iron. Again, this is only something that I've recently started to get into. Once again, it's like I've been bitten by the bug. You know how I mentioned every so often I get this burning urge to get something. And so it seems like I'm starting to feel that way about glass lids. Lodge will hold that lid. So far, as I said, it doesn't fit quite right, Cynthia. It might fit a Le Creuset saucepan. Well, maybe. I'll have to get a Le Creuset saucepan and find out. Rusty iron. I was very fortunate a couple of years ago to go to an old friend's auction, and I got a Griswold number 8 glass lid with the cost and the job, and never gonna get rid of it. You know what? I found one myself going on about it was 2013, and I know that year specifically because it was at Savers, in fact, you know, that commercial thrift store, Savers. I did, in fact, find a genuine Griswold glass lid, and I think I paid like $3 for it. And I decided then I was not going to keep it because I figured if I kept it, it was probably going to end up getting broken sooner or later. So I ended up taking it with me to the 2013 National Cornbread. No, I'm wrong. National Dutch Oven Gathering. You know, that other one, the Dutch Oven Gathering, the one where they all gather around, from all over the country to cook in their Dutch ovens. And I donated it to them. And they had an auction that year. And if I remember right, they ended up selling or auctioning off that glass lid for about $45. So yeah, I had a Griswold glass lid, but now I don't. That style of lid says made in the USA is the same style as have had Lodge made in the 90s. Well, I don't think Lodge has their own glassware factory. So presumably Lodge must have their glass lids and other glassware made for them by other companies. Maybe Pyrex. I mean, that would make sense. Savers is a good place. Yeah, exactly. Okay. Charmed Life. Cynthia Wesley, I just found an oddball lid for my unmarked Wagner number 10. Perfect fit. It's cast iron. Well, congratulations on that. Largely not just because it's a cast iron lid, but as you know, big lids are rare. So if you actually manage to find a number 10 lid on its own, that's a good thing. And if you have one that actually fits, that's an even better thing. Um, have you provided a photo yet so that the community might be able to identify it? We could always try it and see. All right. Yeah, exactly. Score, Cynthia. Nice, Corey. And yes, and congratulations on those scores. But well, who knows? Again, I mean, the next time yeah, each time now I go into places like Salvation Army and Goodwill, yeah, I do look there. I do look for glass lids. So who knows? Maybe I'll be lucky. I mean, it would be nice if I find a vintage lid. Right now, I just want an all glass lid that will fit on my cast iron, in particular my number eights, so that I'll definitely be able to get a lot of use out of it. I recently found a Wagner glass lid, and congratulations on that. Honey Badger, in the 2000s, large skillets came with glass lids from most likely Pyrex. I have one. Ooh, nice. Oh, the 90s rather. Okay, yeah. Well, yeah, that would make sense. That was back in their times before when Lodge, was having business problems, and before they suddenly got out of their business problems and became wildly successful. So yeah, that sounds about right in the 90s or so. I have a modern Lodge glass lid. I use it much more than my iron ones. Yeah, I know, Rocket Caver, and that's because, like it or not, we've got to admit there is one big problem with cast iron, and that, of course, is the way it tends to rust. That's why, as I said, I've recently come to that kind of conclusion as well when it comes to lids. I am not getting rid of my lids. Don't worry. And I'm still going to keep using my lids. Um, eh, I've shown off, for instance, my BSNR camp oven lid, my 13-inch camp oven lid. I have no intention to stop using that, and no way am I going to be getting rid of that. Large glass lids have that steel rim, but they fit a lot of pans. Lids stop splatters like frying chicken. Yes, exactly. All of this is only giving me more incentive to try to find a lid as soon as I can. Put a lid on it. Most of my glass lids have small chips, makes washing them exciting. Yeah, exciting is one word for it. Dangerous might be another. But yeah, that's how it goes. Well, I mean, that's what this hobby is like. I mean, this hobby certainly has its amount of danger. There's just no way around that. Res India L or Resin Dial. That's it. Resin Dial. I found an ABNI skillet number 15, mega huge. I paid $5 at the scrapyard. Holy cow. And I saw that Orphaned Iron is selling one for $1,500, but this is milled on the bottom and cooking surface. Mine is only milled on the cooktop. Well, congratulations on that amazing score. Wow, that sounds like one of those one in a lifetime things. Um, Congratulations. It's a great size pan. And I've said many times before, how I can guarantee you're going to get a lot of use out of that. Having at least one really big cast iron skillet is something you will get. Again, you will find yourself using it a lot more often than you may think. I mean, you could take it camping with you. It makes a great griddle. In fact, it's a better griddle because it has high sides. So there's less chance of things spilling over. And of course, it's the world's greatest pizza pan. It's the world's greatest turkey roasting pan. You're going to love using that. And as far as Orphaned Iron goes, well, number one, again, he and I are on good terms. We met and said hi as well at the National Cornbread Festival last year, and I don't have any problem with that. I do think that his prices are overpriced. Yes, that's my opinion only. Of course, that's also my opinion about eBay. So that kind of comes back to what we said earlier about Butter Pap, in that I would not really judge the high price that you see from some sellers, such as eBay, as as really a measurement of the actual value of that pen. Just from the circumstances, I think you do indeed have a genuine collector's item. I think you have yourself a very valuable pen there. You might be able to sell it for $1,500 if you wanted to. I can't guarantee that you'd get it for that price, but there you go. And all I can say is congratulations on that score. Hogwild. I have the ABNI 15. Orphan has this price way high, but I have seen them sell for 4 or 500. Yeah, exactly. That's kind of the point I'm talking about there. Yes. It really, I guess it's pretty much on a case by case basis, and it kind of like is really from one. It varies from one person to another, and that, of course, is the thrill of the hunt. So who knows? I do want to get down by you. I have family down by that way. Yeah, that's not a bad thing. Tomorrow is Emancipation of Slavery Day. Nothing federal will be open. Oh yeah, tomorrow. Yeah, tomorrow is Juneteenth, isn't it? Yeah, that's right. Tomorrow's the 19th. It's Juneteenth. I'm sorry to say I don't have off from work, but even so, yeah, okay. Well, we'll definitely have to do something. Maybe even like cook something or something just to commemorate it. So yeah. Yeah, yeah. I don't have a problem with that. Juneteenth is a new holiday, and quite frankly, I myself had not heard of Juneteenth until only recently, but I very much respect the idea of it, and I will gladly support it. All right. Banks will be closed tomorrow. Courthouses and the postal service will be closed tomorrow. Do want to get it down by you. My male hero coach. Yeah, thank you and everybody to chat. Well, yeah, thank you for coming by, Rusty Iron. I mean, really, it's like having folks like you here are one reason why I do these chats, just because they're a lot of fun and I enjoy talking to all you folks. So yes, Fuzzfork. I have bought cast iron from Orphan Iron as I couldn't find it anywhere else. Most of my cast iron from Hogwild is he is down to earth, and I believe it in both instances. I mean, the thing with high priced cast iron resellers, and I certainly started discovering this when I went to the Brimfield Antique Show. Oh, last year was my last time at the Brimfield Antique Show. I have not, I do, with the way my life has been so crazy, I would love to get out to Brimfield one more time. Maybe, like, say, if not in July, but maybe in September. I mean, if so, I would certainly bring along a friend at least to experience Brimfield. But the point is that it was at Brimfield I started finding the incredible high-priced cast iron that they have there. And I decided just this, most of the time it's not worth it. I go to Brimfield to look at the cast iron, and I still have managed to find bargains there. But as far as those resellers are there, hey, more power to them. They keep cast iron in the public eye. They obviously help keep the demand up, and there is just that. Maybe at one of those resellers, you might find that one piece of cast iron that you have been looking for your entire life. And then you know that if you don't get it there, you probably will never see it ever again for the rest of your life. Heck, that's how I acquired my big cauldron. I've told that story before, that I scored that at the Brimfield Antique Show. And I certainly do not regret it. I think I got a great bargain for it too. But on the other hand, you might consider it to be a decent investment if you find, oh, I don't know, a BSNR number 9, for instance, even though if it might sell for $200 there. I mean, who knows when you're going to find it again? It's all up to you. I mean, okay. Here's something that I think I said before. As far as high price cast iron goes, when I find something out there in the treasure hunt that is really, really tempting, like, oh man, that looks so good. Oh God, I really want to get that. But I've got 15 more cast iron pans of the same size. Why should I get that one? This is where I've learned to do this. step back for a few minutes and ask yourself a question something like this: am I going to regret it 3 months from now if I don't get this? And a lot of times I have decided, no, I'm not going to regret it. If I walk away and I don't get that piece, I'm not going to be kicking myself for the rest of my life and saying, "Oh man, I really wish I'd gone there and get it." On the other hand, if you think you will be getting it, kicking yourself for the rest of your life, then you should probably, if you can afford it, you probably should get it. Once again, that was the story of why I got my cauldron there. I ended up deciding that if I don't get this now, I will be kicking myself for the rest of my life. And as a result, no, I do not regret getting that big cauldron. So I guess it comes down to what you just said. You get a lot of your stuff from Hog Wild, for instance, and even orphaned iron maybe once in a while. If you find something that you feel will will make your life complete, maybe it might be worth the investment. It's a case by case basis. I mean, you may think so, I may not think so, but I'm not you. All right, have I been rambling enough about that? Okay, well, guys, Hogwild, have a great night finishing a cake for the wife's boss. Well, congratulations. Show us some pictures of that. I'd like to see it. And yeah, we are getting close to that time too. That is true. I mean, it is 10 past 9, and so far, the question I ask is how can I get it in the house without the hubby finding out? Yeah, that's the other thing. I mean, if you hide cast iron in the back of your truck for a month so that the wife doesn't find it, you might have cast ironitis. Or the other one, I think my favorite one is if one of your greatest fears is that when you die, your wife will sell your cast iron for the price that you told her you paid for it, you might have cast ironitis. So, yes. Okay, William Hurd. I have lots more BSNR number eights than I will ever need. Good gifts for later on, too. Yeah, that's another excuse. Yes. I've got a give it away pile over there in the corner too. Stuff that I'm gonna give away one of these days. Haven't yet, but I will. Trust me, I will. If anyone ever goes overboard on high prices, remember there are always ramen noodles to fall back on. Ah, yes. I'll be living on peanut butter and ramen noodles for the next month, but hey, I got myself my Griswold number 11. Funny thing is, I do not have a burning urge right now to get a Griswold number 11. Um, Griswold, I think my urge to get a Griswold was early on in this hobby, and I think it's the same way for everyone. I kind of remember Jeff Rogers when he was back going on, good grief, more than 10 years ago when he was new to this hobby too. And that's when he had this burning urge to collect Griswold, and boy, did he collect Griswold. You've seen his collection. His excuse was that he wanted to put together a collection of Griswold for every one of his kids. Now that some of his kids have actually graduated and married and moved off on their own, well, has he actually made good on it and given them their own collections of Griswold? I don't know. Ask him. But yeah, so I think this is one of those things that a lot of us have when we first get into this hobby. Something like Griswold, for instance. It's so amazing. And it is. And I do have several Griswolds in my collection, and I'm glad to have them. However, I've since moved on, and now my urges for things like BSNR or glass lids. Like I said, I'm starting to get that kind of a bug. So who knows? Do you use your waffle iron much? I have not used my waffle iron as much as I would like to. That's yet another thing I should do. In fact, now that yeah, as I mentioned, I have house guests, and I think I should say nice and loud that pretty soon, maybe this weekend or so, I should dedicate. Let's make waffles. Oh, and your mom wants to make that too? Oh, oh, yes, him. I don't mention names here on the internet, but yeah. No, no, that's fine. But yeah, in fact, If he wants to use my waffle iron, he can do so, and I'll tell him that. All right. Probably not, but I picked up a nasty Wagner number 8 Dutch oven that people walked by because I took the time to clean it up. Only uh, only $20. Well, that actually sounds pretty good. I hope you it turned out very good then. Is it not particular and novel that the Wapak Indian has such a strange and different handle? What's up with that, people? Yeah, well, for things like that, I mean, obviously they had to have some reason to design it. And some of it, of course, may very well have been just for marketing purposes. Remember, folks, and this means everybody, including me, back in the early 20th century, when cast iron was having its heyday, remember, they were just frying pans. They were producing them cheap. Nobody really cared too much about them. They were just frying pans. And so in some instances, of course, companies tried to jazz them up and make them look more attractive to, hopefully that meant that they would sell more. And so this would be my guess that when Wapak designed the Indian head skillet, they decided to give it something of a deluxe treatment and give that really nice, fancy, unique handle to it so that it looked elite, so that it looked something nice, so that it looked Art Deco. That would be my guess as to why they designed the Indian head skillet that way. The same reason why, for instance, Chicago Hardware Foundry designed the New Idea skillet. It's like in some instances they tried to jazz it up so that they could see, so that it would sell. That's the main thing. They were a business, they wanted to sell. William Hurt, my first Grizz score was a number 9 Dutch oven, warped spinner, and did not know Grizz from WAG. $50, oversized large lid. The lid is very vintage. Really, the handle has a rectangular shape. So, in other words, as it turns out, you feel like the lid might actually be worth more than the Dutch oven itself. And in which case, then consider that a lucky score. I certainly would. Fuzz Fork, I was lucky about Griswold as I had a number 10 with heat ring to start out with and a number 7. Oh, I see. So, in other words, you started out the right way. You inherited it. And that's not a bad way to start, that's for sure. All you have to do when you paid too much for cast iron is just give it to a friend and have him bring it to you and say, "Here's the pan I borrowed." Yeah, yeah, exactly. Which is yet another one of my little rules here for cast ironitis, namely that if your friends and family tell you outright they do not want any more cast iron for Christmas because you've already given them more cast iron than they'll ever need, you might have cast ironitis. Hmm. Mark, I have one and haven't used it yet. All right. All right. To be okay. I Everything okay there? Okay. And interestingly enough, this has been a Q&A session. We really haven't done that many questions over the last hour and a half, have we? Is that an Erie hanging up there in the corner? Yes, it is. Okay, let me bring it out. Because in a way, it kind of has to do with what I've been talking about today. Because you know how I mentioned I was thinking of going antiquing out in mid-state New York? Well, as a matter of fact, this was one of the very first pans that I scored on my first antiquing expedition in 2011. And it was, in fact, in the area of Sydney, New York, that I came across this one. And I think I paid $10 for it. So yeah, it was a lucky score then, and this happens to be one that I kept, and I am glad I kept it. I do believe it is a spinner, yes, but hey, I'm quite proud to own a vintage Erie cast iron skillet here, which is, I guess, just an example of of just being lucky, because there's really no other excuse for it. I mean, as far as the treasure hunt goes, luck probably is more important than any kind of skill. Well, no, knowledge is very important too. Because if you don't recognize these things, then you're going to pass them over, which is what a lot of people do because they don't know. Those antique vultures, the ones who only go for anything that says Griswold on it. And so they pass up things like, say, maybe a good health skillet or a Puritan skillet. because they have no idea what they are. Do you use an electrolysis tank? Yes, although I have not rebuilt mine for this year. Do you still have the Dollar General pans? I see Walmart has a new Lodge value skillet in their camping session. As a matter of fact, I have one, and it is over here in my give it away pile. And it still has the logo on it, too. Ugh. Here's a Dollar General skillet. This particular one, in fact, is the one that has the, grill, yeah, it's the grill pan. Yeah, as you can see, it's very shallow, and with the, grill marks, I would think then that this would, in fact, make a nice grilling skillet. This is I did buy this at Dollar General, and it's completely blank on the back, and, it is also an unusual size. It is a 9-inch, not an 8-inch or a 10-inch. So if you're saying that Lodge now has this in their camping collections or camping session, well, obviously it means that they took this and just simply expanded it to a new market. And why not? Dollar General is out there and they still have these at Dollar General. But I mean, hey, obviously Lodge wants to sell as many of them as they can. Sometimes you find a person selling a vintage pan who cut you a deal because you want to continue to use it. That's an interesting way to put it. Good hot dog grill pan, and yeah, I would certainly agree there. I bought my Griswold in 1988 for $10, and congratulations to you for that. All right, let me put this back. Up. Ugh. Okay, I've got that one and the skillet. All right. As I mentioned, it's 20 past 9, and we really haven't. I mean, I've been talking and talking and talking for the last hour and 20 minutes. And again, the time has flown by, and we're already at 20 past 9, and I'm really happy about that. There really haven't been as many detailed questions about my collection as I expected, but you never know. And anyway, okay. 20 years ago, my husband's coworker gave him two Griswolds and an 8 skillet and an 8 Dutch oven. Nobody in his family wanted them. Yeah, that's how a lot of us acquire our cast iron. Nobody else wants them. I mean, when my parents passed on, I inherited the family cast iron, and I tried to pass that on to my brothers, and none of them wanted it. Oh yeah, Miss Mobley's still out, but I'm sure we can get her in for tonight. All right. And well, Val's Black Cats Rules has been great fun. Well, thank you very much. And it's been fun enough for me in that the time has just flown by here. As I said, I've been talking and talking for about an hour and 20 minutes, but I'd say we are wrapping things up at this point, largely because, well, again, it is a Wednesday night. It's hot. Well, I've been sweating here, but hey, what do you expect? It's June. So, I mean, of course we're gonna sweat. That's just how it goes, which means I'm just gonna have a nice drink of Pepsi or something before once this is all done. In the 70s, pans were priced at $1 an inch. Yeah, exactly. That's which again, as I mentioned, they were just frying pans. That's the thing is that really, I mean, while there was sentimental value and some of them were considered luxury pans that you bought at Macy's and the like, in general, they were just frying pans. But suddenly we've got an antique market for them. So who knows? All right. Again, I do think it's probably about that time. And RT Scott says, night all. Yes, exactly. And thank you very much for William Hurt for bantering with all of us. Yeah. I mean, that's really what I like more than anything else, putting out a nice, fun show, regardless of whether I'm standing here talking or whether I'm cooking. Because again, just as I said, just chatting with you folks here really is what makes all of these, makes these live videos so much fun. And that's why I've been doing them for almost 5 years. So, even though, as I've said already, my life is kind of chaotic right at the moment, I'm still going to keep on doing this as much as I can because it's fun. You folks here in these chats are a big reason why it makes it so much fun. And I can only thank everybody so much for that. Like here we go again with the names like William Hurt and Cast Iron IRL with Honey Badger. And hello, Kevin Brown and Cynthia Wesley and Resin Dial. Time to quit your pansplaining and just cook. Yes, exactly. And great and Rocket Caver. Are you gonna beat me to making spiral potatoes? Yeah, I bet he will, in fact. Thank you for opening up your home once again. Well, thank you for coming into my home, Rick Stumbaugh and Val and Incel Hubby and so many others here who again have really make this so much fun, and that's one reason why the time goes so fast. So once again, I can only thank everybody for joining and this evening because well, again, it's time to move on. Time for me to shut up time and shut this down, and we will just get ready for to move on to the weekend, and then we will do it all again next week. So I can only thank everybody once again for being here, and thank you very much for your time. I hope I've done my best to entertain you because we will all once again see you all in about another week or so, which means I end this the way I always end this, with a quote from my favorite movie, 2001: A Space Odyssey. And so all I can say is, see you next Wednesday.